know you're hurting deep down inside, but my God, he came to give you life. You think no one cares, so you just sit there.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Take a minute and listen to this flashback of the Black by Demand radio show.
Control. They said she wouldn't so they didn't know if she had a weapon. So it's just a mess. So yeah, you do have to have these discussions with your children.
You do. And you have to make them aware of that there is an enemy out there. Every time the police pull you over, or every time you have an interaction with the police as a black person, you are at risk of being in front of your enemy. Hopefully, it's not a police officer that wants to demonstrate that he's your enemy, but we all see it's a high probability of that being the case. So if we're not talking to our children do not have the coping mechanisms to deal with these type of intense situations. What they're going to do is what most of us do as black people, me and anyone else, which is become emotional. And that is the trigger point for the police. They know that black people are emotional people. So when they arrive on the scene, they are purposely trying to say and do things to you to get your emotions up, right? And then once they get your emotions up, then it's like, oh, that's what we needed. Now we're going to kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha. You know, so I'm saying we need to have these discussions with our children, you know, and make them understand in this day and age, and it's every day and age really, but we'll just say this day and age for the sake of it being so prevalent on social media, like you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. And I think a lot of us as black people are just scared to still tell our children that there are a group of people out here that are your enemies.
Join us every Monday at 12 noon for Black by Demand radio show, only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Long live Pop. Y'all can go ahead and cry now. I'ma show these niggas what to do with one of your beats, man. I am Gas, by the way. Strong woman story should have been on CNN. Nobody knows what it's like being Gwen. Windows closed in the house, it ain't no CNN. Can't gain weight for years, she been being thin. Single mother, no help from the system. When they was giving out food stamps, she missed them. Birth certificate, baby daddy, she couldn't list them. But her son was so beautiful when she kissed him. Blame it on love, but nigga she could've died with. Destroyed the whole world and found out she was a side chick. The nigga loved his wife and it got hard to hide it. So when Gwen confronted him, he ain't even denied it. Her fault, depends on who you asking. She tried to be a stripper, but the tip out was taxing. Buying all the purses, trying to keep up with the...
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
For either of us, but it was really sad. He had gotten shot in South Carolina, and they don't know who did it. So his body he had just been missing. So all the trouble we got in up here, he went down there and got shot. Oh, hey, what's up? Welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live, only on BeExposedRadio.com. It's me, your host, Nate. I am here with Mr. Brother Noah Silas.
Brother Noah Silas.
Brother Noah. So we're here today, and actually the topic for today is really surrounding how do we, as black men, save ourselves, or how can black men be saved? And it was kind of like a discussion that I went to a workshop earlier this week, and it was only 2 black people there, and they was having a conversation on how to save black men.
Were they male or female?
It was mainly women, and it was disturbing because I was invited at the last minute to come, but I asked as an open room question why weren't more black people in general invited.
Yeah.
But I'm not that person that's always like, it's not enough black people in the room.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't raised that way, so I was always the only black person in the room sometimes. But it was just weird to me that they were having this conversation like every other decision that is being made in cities like Baltimore, and the people who you're referring to aren't at the table.
Absolutely.
So I thought it would behoove us to have that conversation today, being as though we have a panel full of gentlemen that will be here and that are already here. The question itself puzzled me because I didn't think that we needed to be saved necessarily as supported. Because now in the news, there's a lot of talks about reparations.
Yeah.
And I know if you give me $1 million, I'm going to spend $1 million. But will that really help me?
Absolutely not.
You know, the deep-seated issues, will they be helped in the process of us moving forward? But what does it mean to really save us is the topic for today. What does it mean to save black men? And go ahead.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And good night.
Well, not yet.
It is Friday.
Friday. And school's out for the summer.
School's out for the summer, yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Yesterday was the last day of Baltimore City Public Schools.
I think Monday was the last day for some of these people.
Definitely. I'm pretty sure if there was any kids coming there just to get the lunch, they was playing Uno and running around the halls.
And our good students who value perfect attendance.
Well, oh, yes.
Because that's an award that is given out, and they don't know that because normally it's a scholarship or monetary award for having perfect attendance.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Perfect attendance, getting all your credits for, what's it, social activism, civic duties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to the scholars that are out there in schools today or yesterday trying to get that perfect attendance money. How to save the black man?
Well, it's more so, how do we go about saving them, or how can I save them, or I was confused as to how to word the topic.
Yeah, I don't like the word save either. I would use personally guide. How do you guide them?
Well, some of us need to be saved. I'm gonna just be honest with you.
Well, saved how? Like I take you to the preacher and you get saved by Jesus, or like what form of saving do you mean? Am I saving you from?
Well, we know he's not a Christian. That's very apparent in this conversation. But I think it's more so, there's this message that I have, and I kind of have formulated my mission as an individual as this, and women have all of these programs, or a lot of programs that are designed to prevent and to support prevent subsequent whatever, pregnancy, drug abuse, truancy, so on and so forth. But most times, men get those wraparound services at the end, or once they're too far gone in any given circumstance of life, whether it be drugs or violence or gangs or whatever. Men normally get that at the end, when I'm in jail and I'm transitioning out into society again. But women have a lot of programs to prevent them and to kind of cushion that fall, or to kind of bring them out of, before it gets to a jail time. I'm not going to say women aren't in jail or women aren't far gone in given circumstances, but the comparison in terms of numbers it's way more men that are on that end of the spectrum than women. So when I say save, it's more so there are a lot of things as people of color, specifically black people in this community, and I used to feel lazy for saying it, but there are so many things that have prevented us from achieving. Like this, I hate the word systematic because this is words that's being overused, but just the idea of how a system is brought up or created that was preventing us from achieving anything. Like the whole idea of Jim Crow, like that prevented us from having equal rights or equal anything in comparison to, and it wasn't even like, well, I'm gonna set up those same things over here so you can still achieve in your own bubble. But it was like cavemen versus like futuristic, and it was apples and oranges in terms of what the resources were.
So, do you think that Jim Crow blockage still exists today?
Yes, and I would say 50% of it is what it's always been, and the other 50% is self-inflicted.
See, now, because when I think of Jim Crow...
Maybe 60-40.
When I think of the modern day blockage of Jim Crow, I would say that a black man or black people, and in particular black men.
I want to give us freedom to speak about black men in this conversation.
Black men.
Right. And I feel like we leaving out women.
Absolutely. Black men, it is stopping them from being financially independent. Stopping them from having buying and maintaining infrastructure within,
or even knowing how to get those things.
Absolutely. So I challenge that, because I'm pretty sure right now, as we're having this interview, there is at least $2 million on Pennsylvania Avenue Strip right now from the drug trade. $2 million that it is circulating in there. So Jim Crow.
That's why I said 60-40.
Right. So I think to save or to guide the black man, it needs to start with education. You see, because I believe that there are resources out there. I believe there is opportunity. I believe that blockage, it is still there, but it is not as strong and it is not as high as a wall as it was. Really now, what is blocking us the most as black men, it is ourselves. It is our ignorance. It is not that we are dumb, it is just we lack the education.
But we can no longer say we don't have the resources. And that's where the 40% comes in. We keep saying we don't have.
No, I said we do have.
No, I'm just saying, but we're saying we don't have access to those things. And I'm saying I didn't have anybody that helped me get into college. I'll preface that. There was a young lady at the Maryland Higher Education Board who did my paperwork, did everything, my FAFSA, and I smoothly got into school. Absolutely. But I didn't have anybody, thank you, I didn't have anybody that were familiar to me that helped me in that process. And many of us are like, well, my family don't know how, ain't nobody in my family ever did that. And I ended up going to school without having to pay a dime.
Right, okay.
Initially.
Yeah.
Initially. But some roadblocks happened and some figures
Now,
got
how
changed.
were you able to figure that out? Like, how were you actually able to?
I wasn't. I'm just telling you, I just put myself in a space where somebody saw what I was doing and they helped out. Now, I don't see that many people around anymore.
Okay.
And I'll tell the story. So, after high school, which I went to private schools, I still didn't see people in my family who went to college and were successful.
Okay.
There were people, but they were not attached to the inner circle of my family in terms of what I could see. Now, all my teachers, all of them went to school, but it wasn't somebody in my household. My mother went to school and had me and dropped out and became a working adult. But I didn't see anybody that I was physically attached to that was doing that. And I'll preface that by saying the people around me, all my teachers went to college. Everybody that was attached to my schools were closer to my age, and I could see that. But even having that, these people wasn't real to me. I didn't know them. I didn't know their backstory, so I couldn't relate to them. So after high school, I went to Job Corps. I don't know why the hell. I was sitting at home on my day off because I started working right after high school. I was working throughout high school, and I was sitting at home and I saw this commercial for Job Corps, and I came right downtown, did the tour, went away to Job Corps. Don't know what the hell I went there for because it was like living in a halfway house. I came home from, oh, wait a minute, you know what? I got to take a break, and we'll finish this story when we come back. I was about to get into it. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. I was about to go in.
Like the one thing you always gotta remember is people gonna try to project their insecurities onto you. But you can't listen to what them niggas saying. You gotta get out here and do your shit regardless. You gonna do what you love for the rest of your life anyway. So why not turn that shit into something? Be a man of everything you say. This shit bigger than me, man. Like yeah, I'm good and all that, but you know what I mean? I ain't shit without y'all. So no matter what you up, you gotta go hard. It don't matter. Can you imagine how I really having nothing is? Stomach growling, you ain't got no food in the fridge. Surviving on a jail diet of water and bread. No father figure, that's cause my father dead. Mom's bringing different niggas in and out the crib. No money, so you seen it's less than all your friends. But it a joke because your mother was a crackhead. Older sister hoeing off, giving all the homies head. I could wait for your response, but they let it hit me.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're now listening to BeExposedRadio.com. Check out this fire flashback.
We need to relearn what it is to be these bosses and how we conduct ourselves as business-minded individuals and just people in general. I let my gut, and if I call it gut or God or whatever, I'm led by that energy. I know where it comes from. I know where it's, taking me, and you have to figure out what is important to you, and don't play this game. It's a game that we've learned to play, this chess game, and life is not a chess game. Life is real, bones, flesh, blood, decisions.
Make sure you check out the Artist Exchange Show every Monday and Friday at 2 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Same respect, what is happening? We're trading what's important for shiny things. I can't allow this blasphemy. It's blasphemy. Why would you treat yourself like that? We didn't come this far just to fall right back. Don't lose yourself, stay on track. The things that we've overcome, full of unspoken battles we've won. You're so much better than that. Sometimes the truth ain't always catchy as rap. So chasing cheese or you get stuck in a trap. Go get your crown and never render it back. No, it's blasphemy. Why would you treat yourself like that? We didn't come this far just to fall right back. Baby, you're a god.
Hey, there's my son. You've been in your room all morning.
Hey, Dad.
Matt, what's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Oh, well, it's just sort of.
I have been playing my video games and electronic games for so many hours.
Uh-huh. Well, it sounds like it might be time for you to take a break, or...
Hello, Dad.
Susan?
I have been watching TV and text messaging all morning. Yay, electronics. Yay, yay, yay.
Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and take a little trip. Maybe see some trees, some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
You are super glossy. It's probably going to reflect it.
Glossed up, bossed up.
Well, don't make me come down there
So
on
we
that
come
end,
in.
no one. You came back, you like some punch.
We're live. See, look at y'all. Live on air.
Live on
Out of
air.
control.
Live.
So before we went to the break,
Wait. Aldo,
if you're educated.
Aldo, I need you to please ring up an applause thing because the kitty cat has arrived.
Hey! I'm finally here. It was trash thing I was going to say. The same thing with the trash.
Ooh. Did you get
I mean,
did you get the money?
you want the bills paid, right?
That's how you pay.
Your check is in the mail.
Thank you.
Check is in the mail.
Appreciate that. I'll be cashing that shortly. But before we went break, Bleu, kitty cat, he'll be starting the show here shortly, the cocktail hour.
I mean, I swear, I don't know who's did you drink today?
No, I was
It's
describing
the
show.
cocktail social.
Okay, but I was describing it. But you paused, so I was like, well, do you got something else you want to say?
No, it's the cocktail. It's not an hour.
I was about to say that, but it's
more than an hour.
Right, but it's kind of like the cocktail hour, right?
No, it's not.
It's going to be cocktail.
Yeah, but
it's going to be some lounge type of feel, right?
But it's going to be more of a social event.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's the cocktail social.
Hours. Several.
Do y'all meet before the show and like say this is what we're gonna do? And I have to say, first of all, the compliments that I have been getting back from the two of you have been very pleasant, to say the least.
Really? Thank you.
Thank you.
I have some requests for some strange things for change from somebody, but I'm not going to say that live. But
is it like a solo thing, or we gotta do it together? How does that work?
And is it going to be on air?
Right.
Because I mean,
that's another level of.
I mean, this show, the artist exchange. What did we exchange?
No.
I mean,
you can do that on the social, the cocktail social. You can do that.
Okay.
But so thank you all. But before we went to the break, we were having a conversation about how can we save, and it was just how do we word that? Can we be saved? Do we have to be saved? Guided. But I was telling the story of, for me, this how I got to college. Mm-hmm. And once I got to Job Corps, I went to Job Corps for, I don't know what reason, I was just bored. It was something happening in that 18, 19 era, but I was just doing stuff that was just strange. I went to Chicago and was selling magazine subscriptions door to door. I don't know. I let them send me a Greyhound ticket and I went. I don't know. But I ended up in Job Corps, finished with a nursing certificate. After 3 months, it was nothing else I was doing there. Literally, I got a job at Arundel Mills because it was nothing else for me to do there. So even after finishing this, I thought I was going to go and deal with old people for the rest of my life and be a nurse. And I went to this program that the church was giving, and they helped you find a job. And the man saw like my resume. I had been a supervisor at Popeyes at that point. I had a nursing certificate. I worked in summer camps, was in the arts. So he looked at my resume and was like, you want to work in a nursing home? He was like, come in this day and I'm gonna introduce you to someone. And he brought the lady from the Maryland Higher Education Authority. She asked me, not authority, Maryland Higher Education Board or whatever. So she came in and asked me, have I ever thought about college? And I was like, yeah. I thought about college. She asked me about my school career. As soon as I said I went to this school and I went to this school and I graduated, she put me in her car, like literally, it was like, come on, let's go.
Wow.
And we went to her office and we filled out the paperwork that day for me to go to Morgan. Morgan had too many people. It was, they always overbooked their dorms. It wasn't enough space for me. So I ended up going to Couser. It was just that simple. Now that department, I believe that department that still exists, but they don't have anybody that's that hands-on, one-on-one. She filled out my FAFSA. She helped me to get my placement exam for Couser. Because it had been over a year and a half since I had taken my what you call those things? I forgot what you would call SATs. It had been over a year and a half, so she wanted to see if I could just take the placement exam, because of time and distance. And it was just that simple, but a lot of us don't know that those people exist. I didn't know that because I would have went to them if I realized nobody had saved up enough money for me to go to college. So I would have went to them, but I didn't know. And I think a lot of our ignorance fuels our laziness.
And that would lead me back to what I believe. I mean, and one of many things, but a major part is educating the black man. And having knowledge, first knowledge of self. Having that mindset that I want to achieve, even if you have no idea what doors to go to or where to turn to, just having that mindset.
Damien, once he gets here, he's a teaching artist.
Yes.
You and I are teaching artists. That's not that simple.
It's not.
Because there's nobody, and that goes back, I told my story in an abbreviated version, because there was nobody saying, so what are you doing now?
Absolutely.
What school are you going to now? It was nobody saying those things. So for me, it really hurts. Present tense, to see, again, generations. It wasn't just me that was going through that.
Absolutely.
All of these students, for the most part, are coming to school with no supplies, no support, no, foundation.
Yes.
And it's what you're saying is what is necessary, but how do you even get them to want to be educated?
Well, I guess you have to, one, cater it to what it is that they want. I think a lot of times.
You know what they want?
Well, no.
They want chicken boxes and
that's an assumption.
Sex and
that's
music.
An assumption.
But I'm saying that's what they're putting out there.
That's
a reaction.
That's an assumption, and that is what people have been conditioned to believe that that's what they want. The reality is that
what you mean what they need.
No, you said that they want chicken boxes and
what they want, not their needs. Their needs are different from that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you said that they want these things, and the reality is that they don't want those things. Those are the things that they're conditioned, and people are conditioned to see them with. The reality is that they do want those opportunities, but people don't take them seriously. And when you say save the black man, the reality is that the black man has been damaged for a long time, and it has been systemic. So the reality is that when we as black people see black men, especially amongst black men, there is this sense that, you have to be this. There is a cookie cutter version of what it means to be a man. He has to look like this. He has to act like this. He has to dress like this. He has to think like this. He has to be like this. And that's not true. And that's not even realistic. And the fact is, and that's why we're having so much conflict. The reality is, it's not any them that is destroying us. It's us.
That's what I said.
It's us doing the damage to ourselves.
I brought up the topic because, one, I've been hearing a lot of conversation about reparations, but I've also been hearing a lot of conversation. Shout out to Jewel Guy. She has just finished her first book on. She's been doing this for a couple months where she's been asking men real questions on her social media, and we've been giving some real crazy but realistic answers. But all of this has brought me to understand why or how men are being treated the way we are being treated. And I gave us, a permission to exclude women out of the conversation and just speak about men. There are plenty of women out there doing their thing, sororities, individual organizations, a lot of people that I can name right now that are doing work for women. But it is not enough of us really supporting men outside of putting a bow tie on them and dressing them up and telling them if they dress up and speak a certain way and think a certain way that they'll be taken seriously. And I don't like wearing a suit and tie, so that wouldn't work for me.
But that's what we've been taught. That's the conditioning. We've been taught since elementary school, in order to be successful, you have to do this. You have to learn math, English, science, and social studies. You have to start your day at 9 o'clock and end it at 5 o'clock. You have to aspire for these things. And that's not true.
But we're not doing that to our young ladies. We're specifically doing that to our young black men.
Exactly. But the thing is that is oppressive. That in itself is oppressive. And
because everybody doesn't fit in that.
You don't. You know, and when we don't offer vocational programs at every school. You know, there are only selected schools. We don't offer artistic programs at every school. It's only selected schools. And that's an issue. There should be those types of programs in every jurisdiction. You know, it shouldn't be a selected school that you have to go to to do a vocational trade, to be a barber. And that shouldn't be talked down upon. You know, when you say that I want to be an artist, I want to be an actor, teachers will say, well, that's not how you're not going to be successful doing that. You're not going to make any money doing that. Why didn't you choose a career in being a scientist or an architect or an engineer or something like that? That's what black people are being taught. And what happens is then you see a Jay-Z. Then you see a Lil Wayne, and it's someone that looks like them, that thinks like them, that has their exact same experience. And they're like, you know what? I don't want to be like Dad's old auto mechanic ass. I want to be like Lil Wayne. I want to rap. And why can't they?
And so going back to being educated, I have an argument with a lot of guests that I have on the idea of sending children to college or seeking higher education versus just sending them to a vocational school, which I think is very necessary, because had I not thought about a vocational pathway, I wouldn't have gotten to college. But the idea is we need mechanics, we need electricians, we need plumbers. Y'all need to go there. All the commercials are now with black hip hop artists telling us to go to test or schools like that. And I think it's a place for everybody, and college isn't for everybody. But then the first thing you say is college is not for everybody. But I've seen Swiss Beats and a lot of other hip hop artists in their 30s and 40s, Common now, a lot of women, a lot of black artists reach a certain level and realize I can't get any further without education, and most of them are going to Harvard and going for business.
And the reality is,
but they're still going to higher education spaces.
But so institutes like Test, institutes like Fortis, and things like that are not considered institutes of higher learning. You see what I'm saying? There's a distinction. So you can say, oh, well, Morgan State University, Coppin State University, but if you say, oh, at a Test, you go in there, oh, well, you're just getting a certificate. It's not seen the same. But the reality is that I wish I had have learned a vocational skill in addition to the career development that I achieved.
But the task is a vocational pathway that fits you.
Well, and that's about giving people options.
Because plumbers make a certain amount of money.
But that's giving people options. And I think that what happens is that for black men, there are limited options. And what happens is that it's not because, for one, it's their own circumstances, you know, financially, you know, socially, how things are constructed, where they don't have the options that it's perceived that they have. There are barriers to get to these things, you know. You don't want to go to college because the first thing they tell you about college is debt. Well, who the hell want to go into debt? We already in debt. I owe Sally Mae ass, and I don't even know her ass. And when I say
I know where that bitch lives at. I know where she lives.
I'm punch that bitch in her throat because she owed me some goddamn some money. I don't got the money. She asked for.
She owes me the career that I was promised.
No, she offered me shit. She offered me debt. She offered me a low FICO score.
Only appropriate time to call someone a dummy.
Dummy.
To Sally Mae.
The system is set up.
Write that down.
It's set up against black men.
Yeah.
You know? Look at the judicial system. set up against black men. You know, a black man could jaywalk and they will slap his ass for 15 damn years because he held up traffic for about a split second, 5 seconds. You know, we don't get justice. Hate to say it, in domestic situations, woman can go upside a black man's head, knock the shit out of him, and still say he hit me. Black man going to jail for 5-10 years.
Absolutely. And we see, and the crazy thing is, we see this being played out in the news, on sitcoms, in our art, and it's still something that people don't recognize. I worked for this organization before, and it was to prevent subsequent pregnancies with teen mothers. And one of the things was the father had to come along with them. But the program split. So there was a portion of the program where every day they would come after school and deal with issues as the group. And then the women, the young ladies, were set off to the side. And their programs were named after these fine jewels, the rubies group, the diamond group, the emerald group. And the male group had one group, and it was called Man Up. And I was sitting there, I was just the office manager, but I was saying to the owner, I said, this seems strange to me because they're being lectured to while they're being nurtured. And they're both here. So he's manning up by taking the responsibility to come to this after school program when most of them was coming in smelling like weed. I knew most of them was drug dealers because I saw them out in the corner when I was on my way to work. So the fact that they're here, but you're telling them to man up, but you're telling them to achieve and grow. And this is not an argument against men versus women. It's just clearly for me and us to be able to talk about the gap and just how people are being saved. Rather. So people are attempting to save us, but it's how they're going about doing it. Men are always admonished and beaten over the head with their love and nurturing.
I think a part of it is that men have, first of all, because there is a shortage of men in the African American community, the black community, urban communities, because they're either being killed, they're being incarcerated, they're dying because of substance abuse. It's so much shit that's going on with black men, and that's because of how things are set up. So for one, a lot of mothers, a lot of females are protective of the men that they do have. Right. So a lot of it is, I don't want to expose you to the realities of the world that shit is fucked up. You know, that you have to learn how to stand and function on your own. You have to learn how to survive, because I'm afraid that if I allow you out there, that you're going to be snuffed out immediately.
So is there one solution, or is it a case-by-case solution in us? Because even us going out, the three of us need a certain level of support and help and saving.
Mario Moore, you're right. Men don't need to be saved. They need to be enabled. Absolutely. And that's what I was just speaking to, is that a lot of times men aren't given the skills. They're not taught the skills necessary for them to function in the world that we live in.
And I think a part of me thinks that is because some of our parents or guardians or people who are put in charge of us during the day are under the assumption that men will just get it. Because I grew up in a household with a cousin. We're the same exact age, and I saw my mother nurture her. One, because why she had to live with us. She was given a little bit extra love, and I understood that. But it was more so, well, I don't know how to wash clothes. You gonna show me how to wash clothes? You know, I had to learn how to. A lot of my skill sets is because I have the ability to sit and watch you do it. And that's because that was my upbringing. I watched my mother and grandmothers and aunts show my cousin how to do things, or to train them, and I had to just sit back and watch it.
So to answer your question then, one, it is going to take a case by case, really looking into the individual family set, and really.
So there's not one solution.
There is no one solution to it, but regardless, it needs to be consistency, and it needs to be space for the person to grow. Essentially, you're absolutely right. The black man is thrown out there amongst the wolves constantly. I mean,
ill-prepared. I mean, and that's
or pacified,
Well, that's it prepared.
Shelter,
the reality is that the assumption is that things will come to you. A lot of guys believe that all I have to do is throw you some good dick and you'll be good.
Or my person, and maybe not even to that extreme all the time, but my personality or my, my ability to be able to, or my ability to be able to just take over this situation, take charge.
That's it.
Will get me through.
And that's finessing. That's I'm gonna be able to charm my way through it, fuck my way through it, or fight my way through it.
Right.
But the reality is that's not how reality is for them. And when they get out there with those limited skills, thinking that that's the only way that they are going to address a multitude of situations, and they fail at every junction.
So, case by case, do you feel that you were nurtured, us individually? Were you nurtured, or were you pacified, or did you have to struggle as an adult to catch up to where you should have already been?
Now, for me, I think my mom saw inherently that I was different. You
different?
Yeah, I know.
You was fitting right on.
I shit diamonds and pearls, honey. I am different. I am a unicorn. Let me tell you, there is a rarity of blues in the world. Don't you wish you were blue?
A little bit. On Saturdays.
On Saturdays, let me tell you something.
I'm peaches on Saturdays, so that's when my blue comes.
Life is so much better when you're blue. I'm trying to tell you. But
that's tie blue. Okay. A little bit. Okay.
So I felt like my mom prepared me in the way that she knew how.
Okay.
And so that was to toughen me up.
So what didn't you get?
What I didn't get was...
In hindsight,
I didn't get the encouragement to fully achieve my creative side, because the creative side was seen as being feminine. And so that was not... The intellectual was... get academics, go to school. She valued intelligence. What she didn't value was, I like the fact that you like to sing, but honey, we don't want you up there singing in front of nobody. You gay enough as it is, so we don't need your ass out here singing and shit. We need you to be doing some goddamn. So we need you to be.
I'm just curious as what people see when they're kind of pushing you in the box. Like what are they seeing in their vision?
Their fears.
Forward? Yeah, and I'm saying that, but what are they seeing though? It's based on a fear, but what is the vision? Like Bleu up there singing. Do they just see flaming drag queens?
Yes.
Is that what they see?
Sissy. Oh, look. I knew it.
And I don't want to bash parents because I had a loving mother, but I wonder what they see when they are
the worst,
squishing your ambition and your dreams into that box.
They see prison sex. They see
cowboy. I shouldn't even have turned around.
That's what they see. So so it was not something that she was like, okay, go ahead. You can wear.
That's cool.
Wear mascara and be expressive. No, she was like, boy, learn how to fight, because your ass gonna need to learn how to fight.
You know what? I have to stop talking to you because even our conversation last week, like the idea of somebody calling me shorty. Two people have called me shorty.
Hey, look what you felt.
I went
like
off.
You felt like cunt. They was like, hey, shorty.
My name is with a D base. I went all the way.
You dropped your look, you see how I just went down in the bit? Look. I ain't no bitch. I ain't no motherfucking bitch. Don't call me no shorty.
I went straight to that. But Noah, for you, do you feel that you were nurtured or pacified or sheltered or?
First of all, Miss Collins, you are not a hag watching our show. Okay. Don't feel like a hag.
Don't feel like a hag. Don't. You don't have to.
So I would have to say that I was. My father wasn't in my life, and I was raised by my mother. And I have a younger sister. She raised me the best way she knew how. And
I'll preface this isn't a knock to any of our parents.
Absolutely not.
I don't want your mother to walk up on me on the street.
No.
She know who I am.
Beat his ass.
And I don't want my mother to just
she is an absolute
amazing
mother.
Thank you.
She got her. She has a master's.
Got him out here talking shit about you.
And family social work. She valued education. She pushed me in ways that.
But that's another perspective. So she saw the other side of not giving you certain things.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was my mother.
But regardless of everything that she did, it wasn't from a man's perspective.
Right.
So I was ill-equipped to be
It
was certain things that I had to learn on my own because she didn't know as a woman.
So what she taught you, exactly. What she taught you was how she would react as a female if she was presented with you.
Right.
So she was teaching you a female's perspective of how to how to be a man.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times men are taught aggressive behaviors, and they assume that that's what females like. And it's so crazy how many men in the world have no clue as to what a fucking female really likes. They're just shooting in the dark. And that's why women are unhappy. Men out here crying, talking about why you leave me, because she's not satisfied.
And I always saw it as often women raise men to be the man that they wish that they had, or the man that they may have in their life or had in their life, and they raising you in that vein. But in you just talking, I realized our parents did the same thing. Our mother did the same vein kind of work, and it led them to pacify us in certain ways, being young men, because but it was more so her perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's often we dealing with the same issues as men and women. It's just how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew to go the fuck off when somebody tried to fuck off on me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's often how our black women would respond, and
yes,
not necessarily how our black men would respond. So that becomes how you then learn how to react to conflict in situations or just anything. But we learned a certain perspective, but we're missing that other side. So the choice to go off or sit back or walk away.
I'll give you this very interesting perspective. I was raised by my mother and a plethora of strong black women, my aunts, my elder female cousins. So I've always had a woman's perspective when it came to everything in life. So when I became a young adult, just seeing like from my friends or like my elder uncles and stuff, how they handle things. You know what I mean? Like it was interesting that you really can't show love. Like it's weird to tell a man I love you.
Yeah. So we're going to leave on that break. We'll be right back. Come on, keep turning and please share this out with as many friends and followers as you can. Yes. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show with these two.
Yes, join us.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on beexposedradio.com.
You want to start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run.
Mm-hmm.
The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, won with a home run.
Hit the home run.
Right.
They were going into that National series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have, well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much like you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that you're.
Then your average game, you're losing.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
And I didn't realize it. And literally that night, and then maybe a couple days later, and I went all the way off.
Can I tell you something? It gives me life. It gives me...
Because I heard it different. It may not even been the first time.
The conversation we
right,
had.
It may not have been... People have said it, but I rather Shorty than but then I was like, no, bitch, you're not calling me Shorty. And then, but I started asking them after I went off. I was like, have you been, clink clink before? And they were like, yeah. That's what made me like, no, I had to set this straight. I didn't let them walk away with just me cussing them out, but I gave them an educational, which they knew because that's why they were doing it. But
let me tell you, if they call me Shorty, it makes the cat purr. Miss Kitty be like, purr.
Okay, so that's about social.
I mean, for real, man. Shorty.
No,
what's
we're
up?
not doing that.
Sweetheart. Oh, yeah, do that again.
Sweetheart.
So we're back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show. I'm trying to go to the questions just to see. Is there anybody asking any questions? Because I was sharing
also statements.
So we're having
wait, hold on. Miss Collins said, teach our sons finance and real life skills, even if they reject the teaching.
So sidebar, I have felt a lot of parents, especially on social media, about what the school system should be teaching. If the school system taught everything that parents suggested, we would be in school until 10 p.m. One of the things that has to start happening is a lot of these things, especially with finances, interpersonal skills, civic responsibility, a lot of that stuff has to be at home. Throughout the school day, you can touch on it, but you cannot think that the school system is responsible for all of those things. So we often need your children to come there with that knowledge already.
But a lot of times what happens is the reason why parents are saying it is because they themselves don't know how to.
Okay, so you need to now seek out higher education.
The reality, and that's the issue. A lot of them, because of whatever circumstances that they've been exposed to or have to experience, they don't have those skills. And they're looking for guidance from someone who they perceive can provide that skill.
If your child is in my classroom, come to me, and I know many wraparound service programs that can give you that.
And they need that. A lot of parents need support.
And a lot of schools are starting to. I know the after school program that I work with LTYC, Fermanagh Templeton, they offer a lot of those programs, and you'll see the lady at the end of the day as the parents are coming in. So today we're offering such and such, and we're giving you free lunch. Yeah, I'm gonna come in there. Maybe you doing this next week, I'll be there next week. Not tomorrow, you doing this tomorrow, but you doing this next month or next week, and they're not making the time for it. Even though they know it's something that they need and they want, they're not making the time for it.
Because of the distractions that they have within their life. So for instance, for me, and I'm not making excuses for anyone, but the reality is that if I have a substance abuse issue and I have three children at home, I have 3 children at home, and I'm struggling to pay rent and I'm starving. You talking about learn how to be financially independent, and that's not going to be the priority for me.
It should be though.
It should be, but those things that are distracting to you is the priority.
But if you're robbing people to pay Paul, that's going to continue to happen until you just hit rock bottom and seek the help from stage one.
But the way things are set up, you have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right, and you do. In the meantime,
But the thing is that there isn't enough time because there is so much other things that's taking your time, and some of the stuff we do to ourselves, some of it is, we don't learn how to deal with emotional stress. And so we do turn to substances to alleviate our anxieties and our depression. That's what we do. That's what we're conditioned to do. There are ads for cigarettes. There are ads for alcohol. There are ads for marijuana. You get what I mean? To deal with those types of things, but you're not taught the skills to deal with it. But you need those things.
But that is an excuse ultimately, because I'm empathetic to all the post-traumatic
Look at you
stress.
using those big words.
I am to the post-traumatic stress that you have for the society that you live in, the color of your skin, and society's reaction of it. That would cause you to do drugs. That would cause you to not give a fuck. I mean, to be more specific, in Baltimore, that'll cause you to sell your food stamps so you can get your crab legs and garlic butter and Bud Ice. However, you cannot say, cuss your kids out, tell them they ain't shit, they never gonna be shit, you need to do better doing this, and you are not leading by example. You can expect a child to read
technically,
even after school.
Technically, they're leading by example.
Yeah.
Because that's what
absolutely.
they feel for themselves, and that's what they were being given. The problem is, at some point, your ignorance, your youthful ignorance, it fades away, and now you're stuck in a place where, okay, I'm just going to continue to do this because that's what I know to do. Or I'm going to just try to sit and talk to that friend that may got a little bit more to go to. And and specifically with kind of gearing this to the perspective of men, we can't keep on doing that. One of the wishes that I used to have as a child for my parents is that they would have tried harder. And I know sometimes trying harder can often mean, really negating your own needs. But the moment you bring up specifically a man child into the world, all excuses are gone, because now you're creating a monster for somebody else to have to deal with, somebody else to have to take, some other taxpayer to have to take care of.
But the thing is I'm sorry, I believe that a lot of times
I knew that would stop.
Oh, that bitch. Oh my goodness. I just got flustered for a minute.
I knew that would stop him. Go ahead, please.
I was about to say that. See, I done lost my train of thought. No one got me.
Well, since he done lost it, I'll continue on.
Yes.
That's how I get you.
I do.
Don't fall for it, Blue. Don't fall for it.
It's a tactic.
What was I going to say? What was you talking about?
No,
Men. That's what we were talking about. What about men? Shit.
Go ahead. Thank you. So that's a good time to take a break. Let's take a break so Blue can get his life together. Yeah. And we'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com.
First they love you, then desert you, leave with a plate full with no spoon. It ain't no space, I can't escape negativity. I got used to the taste, I've been bad, burned, that fucked over. But remain strong through the Passover, kicking haters out of the way like masked over. Roll up, sip something, let it pass over. Who would I be? It ain't the man to me that let the next man take advantage of me. When that storm come, no pan I see. Get with it, not without it, then you'll see. I beat the haters, they know I'm greater. That's why they buzzing for the elevator, but I can't save it. It'll be too loud on the pedal stool, don't carry favors. Always got your hand out demanding favors. When I just looked out, now you need more paper. I can't breathe, give me 3 feet. I never let y'all be the death of me. When my patient run there, yeah, nigga OT, cause they wanna see me down like I'm NCT. 6 words, get the fuck away from me. See, I help you out if you can help yourself. I keep it G till I DIE. Now excuse me while I get back to PC. HOP ain't losing sleep while your third eye always on me. I'm stacking green just to feed the team. My boo, she know that I'm king when chasing my dream. These niggas it seems I rip them trash and then put on.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Like a manager, huh?
Well, I don't know.
How do you feel?
got some old school too. You might want to bring Trixie out the old. I ain't seen that move since 1972.
So I believe we're back on. So we're back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. I'm your host, Nate. We have Mr. Noah, Brother Noah, sitting to my left and to my right.
I am Bleu Waters, a.k.a. The Cat, a.k.a. Miss Kitty in the City, a.k.a. Kitty, the Cat, Couture.
With 2 T's and a K, bitch.
So this conversation today is being brought to you by my life.
I was about
in terms of me, and that's why I kept going. And part of my struggle as a black male is my insecurities don't add up the same way as a lot of people who I speak to. But my insecurities are more in the fashion of, I didn't get these things. Why are you expecting these things out of me? I got a meme, but I was I've started meditating late at night now. And one of the meditations that I came up with the other day was, I have to stop expecting me out of other people. And part of that is, I don't feel like I know everything because I would have everything. But I hear a lot of excuses, but at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of people who are not being given the resources, and I don't have the tools. I think it was a Martin Luther King quote where he said, we have to, white people always say, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And Martin Luther King responded to that by saying, but what if I don't have the boots? And part of that for me was,
what if you don't have the straps?
For the straps.
You know, it's like, you know, when you say that, it makes sense. But the thing is that a lot of times we are taught to, it's almost how we see ourselves. We see ourselves, when you see yourself as an artist, you're harder on yourself than everyone else is. And black people are hardest on each other. And the reality is that for a lot of us, we don't know the circumstances. I work in, and I'm not going to say my field because I say so much stuff and I don't want y'all to find where I work at. But I've been exposed to enough situations where young people are enduring so much trauma in their lives, but it's generational. You know, it's their mom was. I remember I had the opportunity of meeting a wonderful woman who wrote a book in which there were, I want to say, 4 generations of women exposed to domestic violence. And she was the one she had to break the chain, but she was conditioned, and we don't give a lot of credit to the impact of being things that we're taught. And we think that just because you're sitting in the class, young people are learning indirectly by what they see, you know, that what they're exposed to. And we think, well, if we teach them about math, English, science, and social studies, and financial security, that's going to make them fine. But if they're going to a house where what they're exposed to is mom getting the shit kicked out of it, dad is getting high, everyone's blowing money, then that's something that they're being taught.
And part of, and for the last month, I don't know if this was a blessing, but I've been able to meditate over some things, specifically about being...
That's a blessing.
But you had time to meditate.
My personal situation.
Well, in every situation, there's a lesson.
But that's what I'm saying. So I've had enough time to go over what my actual teaching style was. And for me, I lecture more than I give my actual resource of my art, because I notice a lot of kickback and a lot of, I don't want to do this, it's boring, I don't want to do this. But I see those skill sets in those students, and I spend a lot of my time saying, you know, giving them that big brother type of love, in terms of, I've been there, I've sit in those seats, I've wasted the time of the teacher, I've rallied together with other students to get this teacher that we didn't like out of here, not realizing the resource, the blessing, and the lesson that is standing right in front of me. And one of the reasons that I still do it, and it's not the money, It's really not. LTYC is not paying me enough money to stand in front of classrooms to be able to give myself like that. And I'm exhausted after every class because I pour out what I did not have, but I also pour into them what I was given. And I was blessed to be able to be in situations that got me to the next level or to another opportunity. Brother Noah used to be at Booker T, and that was my possible reality as being a student. And something happened where somebody got me into a Catholic school and got me into a private school. And I'm seeing my friends that went there versus me. And I'm not, I'm no better than anybody, but I see the difference in my mindset and where I physically am and what I'm not willing to do to get ahead. And I pour into these students, and I see a lot of people pouring into students, and I see some teachers who aren't pouring into. Mary Amore, she says research has shown that lecture is the most ineffective method of instruction. But Mary, it's not about lecturing, but I am sitting here with people and students, not even students. I'm sitting here with people who don't have the resources. So it may come across as me lecturing. That's what many of my students have said to me. That's why I named it that way. But Mary, I don't know if you're a teacher, but sitting in front of a classroom full of students who are here with their phones, who calling each other dummies. I've had young ladies who I've called them Miss. I'm really bad with names. I call them Miss. Miss, can you have a seat? My name ain't Miss, but that little boy over there said, come here, bitch, come here for a minute. And they answered to that, giggled, and walked over there to that person. I am sitting there watching that. So my lecture becomes less about me teaching them music, theater, and visual arts, and more so, y'all got to learn how to talk to each other.
Oh my good, but you know what? The funny thing is, so many adults are not. So we are our parents, and I never forget when we were listening to hip hop and Lil' Kim and Notorious Big, and the parents would say, I don't know what the hell y'all listening to, all that sex talk and cussing. And that's what they would say. That's what they thought about the music that we were listening to, and that's what we in turn think about the music and the things that young people are doing today. But the reality is that we actually have to listen, and not necessarily with our ears, but we have to really, really pay attention to what's really being said. The reality is that the young people they're conditioned by the society in which they live in. Being called, what is it? Queen Latifah made a whole rap about don't call me a bitch or a hoe. Who you calling a bitch? U-N-I-T-Y. Girls call each other bitches now. It's a term of endearment. It was a whole movement against black men calling each other niggas. White people calling black men niggas. You can go into any community there, any rap you hear nigga. So it's not seen the same. And so we have to do is we have to cater education to the time.
Well, hearing you say that, Blue, kitty cat with the K and two T's,
I don't like y'all no more.
Is it an identity crisis happening here now?
Well, when you say black people, yes, who are we?
But we're talking about black men.
Who are we? You know, what are you comparing yourself to? We are, technically, we got a little bit of everything, you know, and we get so many variances of what it means to be black, to be a black man. You have to be this way. You have to act this way. You have to think this way. You have to do this thing. And you know what I mean? And for a lot of boys, the perception is in order for you to be down, like you got it going on, you got to be able to face the
But I'm a pause for a second, because this young lady, you know Mary?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I don't want to be, I'm not being mean to you, Miss Mary, but one of the things that she said, so I sent her a message that says, how would she suggest we connect with our students? Because that's one of the things that she said, connect and access are key. She says many students are unable to access curriculum absent connection with instructors and content. There are many ways to connect. establishing relationships, making the content come alive by provoking context that allows seemingly distant curriculum to feel relevant. And I'm gonna say to you, Mary, it sounds like you've worked with students before, but I don't think you're on a day-to-day, and it's not an excuse. And you can jump in,
Thank you, Mary, for
yes, chiming in. And I appreciate that. But one of the things that I'm noticing now is, and part of it is, I'm saying, who is having these private conversations with these students in terms of what their rights are and what rules are and what boundaries are? Not that I feel like the people who are talking to them are wrong, but they're giving them a false sense of reality because they're causing students to close off before they even walk into the school building. So building a personal relationship with a child is sticky now. Because I can't say anything to this child. We can't be by ourselves. I can't even, touch you on your shoulder. Building a personal relationship requires for parents, administrators, and the powers to be to create dialogue where we're all in the classroom together, we're all in the room together, meeting, talking with the students about what these things are. Because if I say to a child, let's go have a one-on-one.
Yeah.
That child is triggered. No, I don't want, what you want to talk to me for?
Yeah.
What I got to talk to, what we got to talk about? So the building a relationship can take the school year. And then I don't have you next year.
School years.
Right, exactly. So unless I have you constantly, we aren't building a relationship. But if I'm even left in the classroom that long.
But I believe the reason that they're defensive is because of the things that they've experienced in that situation.
And
that's how things have been designed. Yep. So when you go into let's have a one-to-one, it's automatically assumed that it's a negative situation. Well, if you heard that, think about it in an employment world, in the real world. When your boss say, I need to speak with you in my office. What do you go in there thinking? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Something about to hit the fan.
So your defenses are already up.
So your defenses are already up. You go to court. What they say is that you are innocent until proven guilty. However, what we see is that we are guilty until proven innocent.
And you'll always be looked at as guilty. We just let you off.
Right. If we found that you are innocent, you will still be perceived as guilty.
Wow.
And that's what black men have endured for a long time.
Forever.
And unfortunately, black women have tried to protect their sons by overcompensating or even undercompensating. By saying, you know what, I'm not making you no pussy ass nigga. Because I don't want you to be out here crying and shit, so I'm not going to hug you. I'm not going to tell you I love you. And your fathers don't do that. So, because I need you to be tough. Because when you get out there in the world, things are going to be hard for you. And I don't need you to be broken.
But that ideology needs to end now. Because toughness in this world comes with consistency.
But a lot of those parents don't understand that because the brute strength is protective to them. They're still looking for a protector themselves. So now they're building a protective measure in their child. Thank you. And this is really, it's a sensitive topic for me. One, because I've had to experience it myself, but I'm watching other young people experience it. And it's dangerous to allow children into a world where you have not given them valuable and useful information. And I understand where we are specifically because one of the things that I've noticed is most of the teachers that are successful at building these relationships, they're doing illegal things to do it. And when I say illegal, I mean they're going against the rules in order to build those relationships, which is damaging to other teachers because I'm following the rules to get to those things, which makes me the uncool teacher. And also, what most women can do, and now there's a bigger number of women teachers and white female teachers in the school system. What they can get away with in terms of what would look as nurturing or protective, for me it looks weird. On me it looks weird and suspicious.
Think about the movie that is probably one of the biggest movies that black people look to for about education, Lean on Me. that principal did everything that was not right.
By the book.
By the book. In order to get
the results.
Get the results. Singing in a damn bathroom because you were caught hooking.
Oh, on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on the Arts Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. I don't remember that scene.
You didn't?
Because they were cooking.
This is a Poverty ENT exclusive. Next stop, Texaco. Strapped up, you already know. Fuck niggas hate, that's how it goes. Bros with me, yeah, it's time to go. That's how it goes. Bros with me, yeah, it's time to go.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
I've always been a lecture type of teacher where I stop the class and we go get this attitude together as a class. I'm not pulling nobody to the side.
Technically, see, goes against that.
Goes against what?
The whole essence of stopping the entire classroom to directly affect or directly connect with the child, because that takes away from the rest of the children's time. So they do what they call planned ignoring, where you kind of ignore the situation at the moment, do something to kind of wheel back the management, but then once you have time.
But that's not possible. That's and see, this is the problem. We have these people who are not in the classroom making rules for people who are in the classroom. When you're dealing with students like that on a one-to-one, and it's not even admonishing. It's let's get this together because we need to work together. Because you have the students who just come to school and I don't want to do this, so I'm going to be creative and just be a distraction. And then you have the students that are really struggling because they have a disability or a learning wall that's up. And then you have the students who are there, and then they get frustrated because I came to school ready and prepared to do what this teacher's asking me to do. And you have to somehow get them all on the same page where they're not hating me as an individual, but they're not hating each other. Because I'm going to be out of this classroom in a few minutes, and they're going to be in this classroom with each other. So we got to figure out how to make that work.
I think the ratio for the students, teacher ratio.
So I already broke the rules, sir.
Oh my goodness, you're on parole. Oh, Jesus. Student-teacher ratio is off. I think the classrooms are, for the teachers, it's overwhelming.
Thanks to our CEO. Thank you, school board, North Avenue. Appreciate
it's overwhelming. I think that a lot of the factors that impact that are
not superintendent.
CEO. She didn't take those classes.
So to me,
she didn't take those classes to become a superintendent.
Well, they don't want to. Do you think that people? Do you really think that they want them to learn anything in schools?
No. And
do you really want them to?
You're making profit.
That's not. I mean, they're not concerned about these young people learning anything. I went to a high school, and as soon as the kids came in without a uniform, they turned their asses back around and sent them home. And that was because what was important to them was that they were in uniform, not the fact that they made an attempt to come into the school building.
So you don't sit them into a classroom and make them sit in the classroom for the day because they don't have their uniform on. So they're not with the general public, but they're still learning.
Absolutely. But that's too much like right. So what they do is it makes sense for them to send them back into the community. And then what they'll say is they don't want to learn. But they're not taking into consideration what these young people have to go through. The family systems are jacked up. And the values are skewed. So when you sit back, you're as a teacher, just like a person who is a businessman, you value teaching, you know. But if I don't value teaching, then I don't see the importance of it. So I'm not going to sit back and I'm not going to help little Susie Q do math and read her book, because reality is I don't know what the fuck is going on in any of that. I don't know how to read myself. I can barely do the math, and then you want to give me new math. I could barely do the old math. Now you changed up the whole math system. So the reality is that
become science experiments instead of students.
Right, and so yet they're not teaching them. And when we say, well, I think we've gotten into this habit of who is more at fault, and the reality is everyone has equal.
So in saying that now, so what then becomes the question that we ask? So what question do we have in terms of, so now we know something is wrong, we know what is wrong, but what becomes the question that we can then ask to step towards a solution? Do you have a question?
On this rocky road, this process, this journey, as we travel to the Emerald City.
Okay, amen, all right. Sound like a sermon.
What is the first step? The first step. Is it the parents? Is it the school system? Is it the child themselves? Where do we start first? Because we already know how we can do it, the possibilities, the theorems, the curriculum that is possible to uplift the children and keep them engaged. But where do we start? If I were to throw an answer out to that question, I would have to say it starts with the first human beings the child were introduced to, the parents.
Absolutely.
The parents. So there needs to be, along with uplifting the children, there needs to be programs for uplifting the parents, educating the parents, making the parents more involved with their own life.
Thank you,
to be more involved with their children's lives.
So let's pause that for a second. So Mary want to fight, or she want to be a guest. So we're gonna bring you on, Mary.
Yes, not fighting. Bring Mary on, please.
So hey, Mary. She says the brain of a highly traumatized child looks very different from the brain of a normal child. And I'll say to you, there's no such thing as
your sources, Mary. Really, just please.
No, but and I understand what she's saying, but the ratio of quote-unquote normal children are no longer. All those students in your classroom has a level of trauma now, whether it's dealing with other classmates or having some issues at home or the travel from home to school.
But is that, and so I think in this situation, that's in itself a problem. Because if you can no longer distinguish what normal is from traumatized because there's so much shit going on, then that's a big problem.
So Mary continues by saying there are many students with IEPs and 504 plans, which means are solutions or ways of dealing with them. So teachers are giving solutions as to how to deal with the students. So with IEPs who have legitimate brain damage are not identified. Yes, they are. Most of them may not be tested and giving the diagnosis, but most of the students in the school have a IEP with a 504 plan, and all the teachers in the school are giving it. And if you are working there and you don't have it, you're supposed to go to the office because they're supposed to give you insight on who they are.
That's in an ideal world.
Yes.
In the real world, that's the issue. In the real world, those things are not being addressed. I had a young person who was an IEP student. And the reason why that's supported under the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, that young people that have a disability have to have specialized education. There's a curriculum designed specifically for them because their right is they have a right to an education, a quality education.
So this goes back to Noah's statement. Well, I think you said it. Do the parents know that? Are the parents pushing for that? Have the parents gotten that child diagnosed?
And now, hold on.
Every school that
a lot of times they don't.
I've been given IEPs and the 504 plans for most of the students.
And it's a miseducation with the parents because a lot of the parents are getting these IEPs en masse because they believe that it is a monetary value that's going to come from it. So it is a sense of money that they're more so looking for than the well-being of their child.
And it's dangerous for me to, and I understand what Mary is saying, but on one side, I see the schools that are putting forth, like the school that I'm at now, they're putting forth their effort to make sure that you know all that a student is going through. And I'll share one instance. Well, because I was new, I wasn't given my package yet. There was one young student who had an issue with having a bathroom issue. So, when most students raise their hand, can I go to the bathroom? Just give me a second. With her, she has to go to the bathroom. And I didn't know that. So I'm saying, let me calm the class down, let me give it my introduction, thank you, and then you can go to the bathroom. Well, in the process, the child went to the bathroom on herself. I didn't have any knowledge of that. The parent got agitated, but once the parent realized I didn't know, then the question became, how is he going to know for the next time? So then I was prepared for that for the next time, and for all the students, well, most of the students that I
And who did know? Because even though you didn't know, did anyone know?
Yeah, they did know.
And so the fact of the matter is that it was a part of her 504, but you weren't made privy of the fact that she had this condition.
Right.
And so because you weren't made privy of it, then you had to deal with whatever circumstance that transpired as a result of your lack of knowledge that they were aware of, and that's all too common.
And I want to. First of all, you need to figure out who Mary is. And
I know who she is because Mary is my lovely, beautiful Aquarius that I'm absolutely head over heels for. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And so, yeah, she could come in.
He gives it out. He just serves it. But so we got Noah's question. What is your question to get us one step forward to a solution?
My question is, how can we change? What is it that we can do to revamp the system to make it more effective for the individual, for the population that they're dealing with, they're educating now?
My question would be, how do we all, as each portion of that pie, get into a room together without blaming each other or pointing a finger with the child? Like, I feel like we have to stop taking meetings about other people who we're not including in the process. And I understand sometimes you need to have a little bit more control over what you want the outcome to be, but I can't design an outcome if I don't know what and who the problem involves. Like, I can't see that happening anymore. So I'm trying to bring all this back into us speaking about young men specifically. One of the questions that I have for us, and I think we have to take a break. So we're going to go right back. We got a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere.
Check out this snippet from the new season of Talk Lately with Monty about Jennifer Holliday.
Anyway, let's get back to Yeah. Well, what I wanted to say is that I can understand 100% where Jennifer Holliday is coming from, and that's sort of kind of where my 20% came from. When I basically came out and said who I voted for, I received a lot of backlash. Even on my own talk show, which comes on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m., I was called a coon. Okay, yeah, shout out for the plug. But yeah, someone actually, they told CJ Bernie that I was a coon, and that really hurt me. I've been called everything from a fat whatever and everything, but someone actually commented on his Facebook
I didn't even say that. That's kind of
called me a coon, but it's it's crazy because I just feel like someone like Jennifer Holliday, I understand why she stepped down, but I'm kind of upset with her because I think she still should have performed. If you're going to jump out there, then stand in your truth. Don't let no one stop you or change your mind about anything. Listen, no one put a gun to her head and made her sign on for that. But it just seems like, she was basically, she was bullied.
But see, the thing about it is they will put a gun to her head to not do it.
I don't think so.
Well, that's what the threat says. You got to tell. It's why it's called a threat. You don't know the hypotheticals in there that could happen to you.
Why do you think
she's not a well-known singer, so she's not going around with security. Since she goes to get her tracks at the mall,
right?
Pow!
Right, but at the same time,
we got a whole bunch of dead cats.
Yeah, but like what she said in the footage, today on The View was basically it's not white people who was threatening her. It was us who was threatening her.
Right. Where do you think she live? I think she live in Atlanta.
Exactly.
They gonna get her at the Ku Klux Klan mall and drag her by her hair. Her hair made a cat. She got the new weave.
I don't have Jennifer Holliday money, honey. I don't know what it might be because it's. I don't got Jennifer Holliday money, but. Me personally, I feel as though, like I said, once I kind of came out, and even being on this show, because I'm pretty sure the headline says Trump supporter, I'm putting a lot of myself out there. You know what I'm saying? So I get it.
Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Proceed with caution, tired of lane, I'm exhausted. Poppin' Zanny Zan, sipping out the faucet. I'm confused, don't know what I'm doing. Wait, what I'm doing? Got me going, where the f I'm going? Out of space, where I'm going.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Idea that we don't stop the class. So how do we manage the classroom if we're not?
Well, I think teachers need to be equipped with the tools necessary to manage the classes in the time that we live in now. There are a lot of factors.
If you got 20 different 504 plans, about 30 different behavioral issues, and 40 people in the classroom, how do we effectively manage without pausing and stopping?
But that's why I said you have to change. You actually have to change the way the system is designed.
So go back to special classes.
Yeah, it's not designed. It's not effective. It's ineffective. There are so many individual, the learning styles of young people, they differentiate. Not everyone learns the same. So if you are teaching, if your style of teaching doesn't match the style that they learn in, then they're missing it. Some people, lecturing does not work for individuals that need to be tactile. They need to actually manipulate something.
And see, that's why I said this last month for me has really given me insight, because and me just really going over with a fine comb of those lessons, it's virtually impossible for even the best teacher to reach all of those students in one sit down.
Exactly.
Because in me lecturing, and I call it lecturing, that's what the students say, but me stopping the class to get us all to reset us. I do a lot of resets. That's what I call it. But even with that, there's a young man I know is one of the, and he's a really good person because one-on-one we can deal with each other. But in a classroom setting, he don't like sitting down. And part of it is because of his issue. He has ADHD. So him sitting down is like
he needs
torturing him.
And for him, he needs something to do. So sitting there listening to you do the lesson is for real. He's seeing other things. It's not that he can't sit down. It's that everything he's processing so much.
But see, as an artist, I am sensitive to that. Because I was often the child that was bored in class and always had the urge and the impulse to get the hell up and get out of it.
Wait a minute. And then another thing. Everybody want to be diagnosing people with shit. Not only everybody's ADHD, everybody's oppositional defiant, everybody else. A lot of that is a bunch of bullshit. A reality is that he may be advanced.
No, and I don't think ADHD is
no. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you're saying that that's his. What I'm saying is that a lot of times these young people are diagnosed with things, and that's not the real issue.
But even being diagnosed is not the issue, because then we understand what is wrong. But I think where we go wrong is that's how we relate to the child then. So you're not. We can't give you certain things because this is wrong with you, or this is wrong with you. Nah, it's just because for me, I literally, even sitting here and being in theater, I would rather be the assistant stage manager than the stage manager, because I don't like sitting still. And the stage manager has to sit there on book for the entire show. And that's like hitting me in my eye with a toothpick.
Well, let me interject in this, just as an instructor. You have to. You
gotta move your shoulders on.
Come a little closer.
You have to. You have to.
That triggered me.
See, damn. Differential learning is key. Now, I am a theater teacher, and in my theater class, I had an open forum, and yes, my Booker T room did stagger me a lot with this, but in my class,
you had a lot of
that trigger an open forum. I taught at Booker T Washington Middle School, and 87% of the population in that school is on an IEP or 504 plan. So as teachers, we have to be ready and equipped to change and differentiate our style of teaching. So, for example,
at any given moment,
for little Dante, who can't sit the fuck down, I had built into my lesson plan where he could get up and move to a section and move around and still ascertain the lesson that was being taught for that day. If it's little Sally, who has not Tourette's, but she can't help herself but to call him a dummy out loud in the middle of class, there is a way, or my particular way was, we had an improv scene about it. I was able to get away with that because I was a theater teacher. So to make it more specific for visual art or a math or English teacher, they would have to really sit down and craft that curriculum with it. But the point is, I have to change my style of teaching. I can't sit there and have them sit there in a desk and have me point at a board and say this is what theater is. I'm very engaged. When they walk in the room, now of course they have to warm up to me in the city public schools, but you have to come in the room in a different style. You can't just walk in my room. You gotta skip or do a barrel roll or come in as your favorite character. Like, I am much more engaging as an instructor, and that's how the kids warm up to me. See, me, like, I don't come in.
You become the fun teacher.
Exactly. When you walk into my room, I'm not sitting at my desk. I'm like standing on a desk. I'm standing on a chair. I'm rolling over there with you.
So your style is basically, it's a bitter pill, but you
roll it on the floor. But I like to roll
on the floor.
But I'm not rolling.
Ain't nothing wrong with rolling on the floor. But anyway,
you got to get up at some point.
Hey, let me tell you something. Good wine, aged wine is considered refined. Is that the same for cats? Cats with 2 T's. But what I was saying, see, we just sit, me and him, we're going to have to do our own private show. But,
with the same setup too.
Yeah, with all of the cameras and the lights.
We're gonna take these green
some music.
The sheets right here.
Yeah.
I'm not. This is much as I'm going to be in the room.
You give the medicine with some sugar. You add honey to it. So what happens is that they're more receptive to the education that you're giving because you've sweetened it.
Yes.
They have something that they're engaged in, and not a lot of teachers know how to do that. One, because they themselves are, they rigid, and it requires them to be a lot more flexible.
But that's unfair to tell another teacher to do that.
No, and I'm not saying you have to.
But
what I'm saying
is
that
that's how children are receiving that. Because now they expect that out of all of their teachers.
Well, guess what?
And not every classroom is set up that way.
But I don't think you
have the certificates. We need to keep evolving with the times.
And I think that I
think a lot of teachers are doing that. But you all are speaking for children who don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. So even if another theater teacher comes and replaces you, I don't know your learning style. Yeah. And even if you write that into your lesson plan, it's still going to come across different because I'm different. Yeah. And children don't understand that. What make them feel good? I wish this person was here. I want that. But that we have to then begin to train our children in a different way. We want all this training to go into teachers, but we're still not training the subject.
Well, the reality is
we're not doing that.
I think the reason that the children aren't getting it is because they're not getting it at home. Absolutely. And the reality is that the reason why they're not getting it at home is because they themselves were children when they had them. For a lot of them. And for a lot of them, they didn't get that. You got to think 3 generations, you're talking about 3 generations or 3 to 4 generations, and you have to look at the quality of education in the last 4 generations. What has it been? It's been deplorable. So this is not something that is new. This is something that has been allowed to progress. And what happens is like with any sickness, if you leave it unchecked, it starts to affect every other thing. You get what I mean? So it becomes cancerous. It starts to consume everything around it. And that's what the education system is doing. People, if you look at it, the things that in Baltimore City, and I'm going to bring it back to black men, the reason that there are young men that are outside that would rather go to squeegee than to go to class is because the education system, the adults that are supposed to be the professionals, the leaders, have failed them.
I'll say my aunt Val, she is in the school system, and her statement was parents are not being held accountable. And Lolita, she has a show here, she says absolutely, totally agree that teachers must be creative in their styles with students populations we have today with so many children in the rooms today. And Lolita's a parent, so I'm not going to be like you, and my Aunt Val is a parent, but at the same time, parents can easily say that. They can easily say, you have to be more adaptive because my child, and they're speaking for their child, not knowing your child is one of 30-some students in the class, plus 30 plus students in the class, and not understanding that you have to teach your child, despite what their learning style is, they have to be open to other people.
So question, how do black people teach their children? Exactly.
But that's sit down, dummy.
And the reality is that in that statement alone, you have so much that's wrong. Now, you can't fuck up your children because now that becomes an issue. That's a social service issue. You will get a CPS charge pressed against you. Well, what about little hard-headed Ray Ray, who lives in Park Heights with all the drug dealers, all the boys riding dirt bikes, and everybody, not to say that that's what goes on in Park Heights, but let's be real, this is Baltimore. And so he is oppositional. And he does not listen. And at times he is, when you tell him to do one thing, he does something else. So mom doesn't know how to, Ray, sit down. Ray do this. Her response is what she was taught. I'm going to go upside his damn head. Well, she can't do that. Well, so what parents are feeling is, I am damned if I'm due, and I'm damned if I don't. Because what I was taught was the way that you make a child listen, or the way that you sit them down, is you got to go upside their head. Well, then they're told that that's ineffective, but they're not giving an alternative to that. They're just told it's not right.
That begins to be an alternative to what works for your child. But I can't do that as the teacher.
Right.
I can't go upside the child's head and get them to reset themselves.
But how often have you, when you grew up, what was the old statement that parents used to say? I remember when teachers used to could go spank you, and then you get another spanking when you went home.
But then the next generation said, "This is mine. You don't put your hands on mine."
Exactly. But that wasn't because of the neck. That was because of the social system that was set up to make them say, "This is yours. You don't let people put your hands on them." See, that's how it was designed.
Thank you.
And so my thing is that I feel for the parents, because they don't have any solutions. They don't have anyone to give them an alternative, because all of the alternatives that they've been given is limited.
So work
or end up with them going to jail.
Or end up with them going to jail. So when they want, I haven't even heard of a PTA meeting. I don't even know if schools still do PTA.
They do them. It's just that very little parents do come to them.
Parents, check out, just a side note before I move on, check out your local PTA meetings, because if
your local, not your local, the ones at your child's school.
The one at your child's school, your local goddamn
the organization,
PTA.
They're there.
Because if they are being as engaging as a Colleton Square, I used to work at Colleton Square, what we had to do just to bring you parents up there, we would give you like
dinner,
parent bucks, and depending on how many PTA meetings you came to, how many parent bucks you accumulated, you could win like a flat screen.
I gotta give you an incentive for you to come and check up on your child, and I know that to be true. And parents are sometimes busy, or my child ain't a problem, so I don't feel good. I gotta come up there until your child automatically, like out of the blue, gets expelled. And you're like, well, what's the problem? Well, if you would have came, we would have told you what the problem was.
But that's what.
But I don't even have your real phone number now. So we're gonna go to a quick commercial break, and we're gonna finish with our last statements from these two gentlemen when we come back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show. I know it be going.
I know it just goes so fast.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to today's graduation ceremony. Students, when you hear the reason or reasons for your absences throughout the years, please exit the auditorium without your high school diploma. Once you've exited, remove your cap and gown and proceed into the unknown. Too tired. Family trip. Part-time job. Helping around the house. Sick day. Starting the holidays early. Just because.
Starting in the 6th grade, students who miss 18 days or more of school in a year for any reason will fall behind and risk not graduating high school. How many days of school has your child missed this year? Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org today. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Exposed Radio.
Well, if you made them, take care of them.
Yeah, that's
period.
The real. Right. That's the real deal.
It's period.
Right. And all that old money shouldn't go toward this, money should go to, if the child is with one of the parents 24/7, 7 days a week, you don't even come get your child every day. You come get your child once a month maybe, or once every 3 months.
Right.
You cannot dictate where that money goes, especially if the child ain't calling you about nothing. Now, if the child calling you every week, then you can question about where the child support is going. But if every time you pick up the child, they look nice, they ain't complaining about nothing, why are you worrying about where the money go at?
It is what it is. Radio.
White keys only have this bitch jumping.
Okay. If I sit around, hold up. Look. If I sit around,
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Reality. They help lead the individual. Yeah. That's right. That's a power couple.
That's a discussion.
We like Beyonce and Jay-Z. Or Biggie and Lil Kim.
You know, that Lil Kim, they was fist fighting. We're back on. Welcome back. This is our last segment. We have to shout out to Mr. Damien. Hopefully we can get him back on, reschedule him. Hopefully. He's a busy man. It took me a minute to get him the first time. So
he's outside actually.
Oh wow. He's been outside.
He's been outside.
Oh wow. Sorry about that, sir.
Sorry.
Did he call?
No, he's more of a texter.
Oh. That's that left brain, right brain. Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show. So we've been having an interesting conversation about how we can save our black men, and we went off and ended up into the school system. And that really is kind of the origin of it. But beyond that, at home. And a lot of the things that I struggled with was because, you know, my mother was on her own doing a lot of things. And we've gotten a lot of support and help, me and my mother, over the years from various people. I have Mom 2.0. Shout out to Miss Catherine. Shout out to my godmother that just passed away. Many people who stepped in and were supportive. But at the end of the day, we have to figure things out, because now we got to go back to even before the child is conceived and figuring out what's the deal with us. Like, are we sustainable enough to bring something into this world? Are we sustainable enough to be going raw right now? Do we need to be doing this?
Hell.
Like,
I honestly believe that they should have a test, the SAT type test,
before you can
even begin to conceive a child, that you have to pass this.
Like, they have to put like a key in you and unlock it on both of y'all. Before.
Oh my goodness. Yes, they have to, and you have to have a license to have a child. You cannot just go around here and having children.
But how are they going to like shut it off and shut it on?
Oh no, I mean, I don't know.
So you can't use your instrument.
You can use it. You can use it, but you will be fined if you conceive.
Ooh.
You will be fined a steep fine if you conceive, because you do not have your license and you have not completed this test, which will entail that they go through parenting classes, that they go through all of those things that's required of them to be an effective parent.
I say, if you do not invest solely in your child's life and education, and I do not mean just sending them to school, I mean actively encouraging them with extracurricular activity, reading, STEM, sports, science, anything, we cut your motherfucking food stamps.
But when I say, not your food stamps, we don't all get food stamps, sir. But when I say a whole generation is going to be missing, like a whole generation, it's like the world just going to stop.
Well,
it's going to be strange, but I don't like pointing a finger, and I'll say, you know, and I'll give you both a last time to say your last thoughts, and I'll start with mine. We really have to figure out how, and this is on a one-on-one relationship with men. What do you want? Ask yourself that before you point a finger at a man or before you judge that man. Like, what do you want? And I see a lot of young women who may be single parents or not, who are putting into their young man what they want out of a man. And often what they want is toxic.
What kind of man are you?
Right, what kind of man are you? And that's us looking at ourselves, but what kind of man do you want? And that'll give you more insight on what kind of child that you are turning into a man. And well, not really that, but what type of man you're turning your child into.
I think that for black men, what we as a community have to do is, one, have a healthy definition of what it means to be a black man. I think a lot of times what we perceive as a black man has been historically brutish and primitive, you know, and lack any of those things that is inherent of what we see our counterpart, white men. You know, they can be intellectual and not seen as being effeminate or being considered, you know, gay because they're being professional. But that's not black men. So I think that what we have to do is, one, have a healthy definition of what it means to be a black man, and then begin to build from there, and not build in a sense where we have to be clubbing each other over the head, shooting and shanking, and hypersexual in order for us to be conceived as being successful. We have a skewed sense of what it means to be black and to be successful, and that has to change.
Well, what it is, the definition of what it is to be a man, it needs to not only be relooked at, but it needs to be destroyed. Like it, and I'm a really confident person, but me having that time to be able to just be a guy, like we have to redefine what that means. So we have 5 more minutes.
Don't judge.
I'm not. But we're gonna give all this attention to Mr. Poole as we speak. Can you turn on his mic? Just turn his mic on.
Damian Poole, aka DP, the MC.
So we're gonna give these last 5 minutes to Mr. Poole. Spit. Our conversation today was, how do we save black men?
Man. Whew. I'm sorry for being late.
You good.
How do we save black men? So we had this discussion yesterday on our way back from a trip, teacher skip day to Hershey Park. And in this conversation, what I was saying was that the way that we help black men is by intellectually empowering them, right? Teaching them to weaponize that information for the betterment of changing their community. I noticed, at least for myself, like I didn't have an opportunity to be in a position to be empowered until I got to high school, and I had a teacher who didn't look like me tell me the value and the importance of being able to read and write, and being able to count your money the right way, and have a bank account, and credit, right? So I know that what I'm doing right now, I started a book club in my school. We went from having 4 kids to having over 50 kids. And literally what we were doing was just bringing them books from authors in the city, from black men that look just like them, that have experienced the same things that they've experienced. And then to top it off, we gave them that financial literacy. So we had a young lady come in and offer my students the opportunity to open their own savings accounts and teach them about credit and what's the difference between a 401k. Like, so I think that would be my solution if I had to offer one. So can I say one more thing?
Go ahead. You got this is the floor now.
This situation has been kind of breaking my heart. So the families over in Poe Homes over in West Baltimore haven't had water since Monday,
and that's not even news,
right? So what they've been given is gallons of water, a single gallon of water to use for the entire day. You're supposed to wash, do your dishes, drink, just having quality water.
Is that the reason they don't have water?
So apparently there was a water main break. But even yet and still, when that happens, you have to find a viable solution for those people in that community. You can't just say, "Oh, yo, the water main break, that's on you."
So they can't place them in a hotel or anything like
that? Nope.
Then
it's not that they can't; it's that they won't.
So now that's a city issue. And has anyone been made aware of it at the mayor's office?
They don't have an email.
They don't have an email. It's still down. They don't have an email. So
they can't get in contact.
What I've been doing is, what I'm going to do, today, actually when I leave here, I'm about to run to Walmart. I'm about to buy a whole bunch of water. People have been cash apping me all day. So I'm about to just drop a couple bills, get some water and take it to that community. And then find a homegirl, Shakira. She lives in that community, so she has a better idea of who could use the water and where it could go.
So can we take the time out to say that if you're in that neighborhood, and anyone that's watching this, and if you're not watching this, if you know someone that lives in that neighborhood, if you could donate waters to that community because they're without water and the city has neglected them in a sense to get them their basic need of water, and take that time out. And that's the same with the location.
CoHost.
CoHost, located where?
I think it's West Fayette Street. So that community right off of Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Packs of water, gallons of water. If you can just donate that would be greatly appreciated. Baltimore, stand up and help your own.
So so the show is like coming to an end. So I'm gonna do it like a live, so you can go through and give us some information on yourself, because we kind of ran out of time for the actual show. But we're gonna come back next Friday. We're kind of gonna go in a different direction with this conversation, and we definitely will try to get this busy man rescheduled so we can get some information.
Man, today was the first day of freedom for teachers.
We said that. We celebrated that.
And I tried to fit that in
on a Friday.
On a Friday.
About to go turn up.
Nah, I left Georgetown at 4. I was like, yo, we're gonna be back in time. Sitting in traffic.
Oh yeah, I think that's why traffic was heavy today. I'm sorry, everybody. But we're gonna come back in just a few minutes. I'm gonna go live straight from the page, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to everybody. And we had some questions that we're gonna respond to after the show as well. So don't go anywhere. Well, go somewhere right now, but we're gonna go back live. All right, peace out.
Like, the one thing you always gotta remember is people gonna try to project their insecurities onto you. But you can't listen to what them niggas saying. You gotta get out here and do your shit regardless.